So that was number 5.
Now the horror movie.
Right. Well, would you like to introduce this one? So number 6
is
it was Little Ghost Nebula.
It's called the Little Ghost Nebula, and it's in one of the constellations in the ecliptic that is not in the sort of astrological zodiac. It's the sign of the mythical serpent bearer, Ophiuchus. He's wrestling a serpent in his arms. And the sun is in Ophiuchus for I think it's 14 or 17 days, I can't remember, it's between that number somewhere. And the Little Ghost Nebula, of course, it suggests ghosts, things that go bump in the night, that kind of thing. And I think, if I remember rightly, the very first image is this apparition on some old stairs in an old building.
Yes.
And the whole video has a creepy sort of...
Very creepy.
Very otherworldly sort of feel about it. Mm-hmm. And I can't remember what phrase we came up for this one, but I remember it was quite a good one.
So this one, being based around the idea of ghouls or ghosts, the principal theme, was petrifying expectations.
Yes,
petrifying expectations.
It's very important to mention in this video. At the time that I was writing this particular section, I always have been, but I got even more obsessed with listening to the music of the monks of Bhutan, which is a sort of secretive mountain kingdom in the Himalayas, and the sound of their ritual music. And I didn't try and reproduce it in this particular movement, this section. I don't call them movements, they're sections. But the sort of power of the incantational nature of this music. And they have these big long trumpets which make these big noises. And there's two moments in this particular section where it's like a huge noisy band, as it were, comes in playing loud brass notes.
But if I'm right, we can say noisy band, but I think what they're actually playing, from a musical point of view, is a perfect fifth interval. Is that right? So you're one of the basic musical relationships in terms of pitch.
It's perfect fifth in Western music, but because it's not played by people who play Western music, some of the instruments are not the same fifth as. So what I've done is I've sort of blurred the fifth by putting, one instrument playing a quarter tone sharper or quarter tone flatter at certain points. Yeah. So it sounds like a fifth, but it's like a sort of blurry fifth. Mm-hmm. And that's what you get when you hear them playing, the sort of blurry fifth. But that's where the word comes from in the second half of that.
The expectations.
Because of this religious idea of you're looking towards redemption or whatever it is in any particular religion. So it's an expectation of being blessed or being set free or whatever it is. Most religions have this kind of expectation for some.
So I think admittedly two very, very different elements in this, which are not really related as such.
No,
but just by that virtue, just having two elements which are very contrasting and a duality like that. It's a very powerful tool in artistic expression generally. We talk about sonata form in music. It's based on the idea of a first and a second subject, by definition contrasting. So just to take an obvious example of a lot of the great traditional classical music is based on this concept of sonata form. So this is sort of in a totally different manner of musical expression. There's a parallel here with He Who Serves Two Elements. So, the petrifying particles of petrifying expectations is the ghoulish aspect, the ghosts which appear here and there.
And they make you feel petrified if you saw one, I'm sure.
And we made an effort, and I think to a certain extent, we did a pretty good job of creating ghost images which are quite scary.
I like the bit at the end that you've done.
And I think the ending bits...
It's got a bit of humour, but it also cuts off so you don't see the bit which is almost unimaginable.
Yes, we cut to black at the end. Because, again, I am as we just said, performing the viola. I'm still in shot, and a ghostly image appears, and we suggest foul play might occur, that we cut it to black, which we thought that was quite a powerful way of doing that. Well, it's certainly a simple way of doing it.
Of course, in Greek theatre you never see bad things happen
So
on
the
stage.
suggestion.
There was
Yes.
happen off the stage. So.
Yes. One viola technique I'd just like to mention here.
So no viola players were harmed in this recording?
No, they survived, or he survived in this case, or I survived in this case. But that's the joy of doing it within the context of something which you're doing on stage. You can act that possibility. Exactly. And the technique I haven't mentioned so far actually is the not constant use but very frequent use in some notable clusters of Kolyegno technique, which is when you use the wood of the bow to effectively hit the string. So again, it's not what a bow is designed to do. It's designed to vibrate a string with horsehair. But Kolyegno is a commonly used technique in certainly romantic music onwards. And occasionally it was used in classical music, I think, but not rarely, but it was known, certainly. But it has a percussive effect, which can actually evoke any number of associations. And getting back to our overall theme, the aesthetics of associations, I think this is just a very good one just to talk about a little bit, because it's an effect which is used many times in a number of these pieces, not just this one. But the beginning of Little Ghost Nebula has a very effective use of Kolyegno with very rapid demi-semi-quaver notes, or 30-second notes, I think they would also be known as, which creates this clattering sound, which on its own is benign and doesn't really. But as soon as you combine that with an image such as you said, an apparition on a wooden staircase in black and white from a time, which reminds you of a certain genre of movie. Yes. If that had been a colour picture, it wouldn't have had the same impact. Right. But certainly that black and white image on the staircase with the Kolyegno was an effect.
Wasn't it also used with the bee?
So yes, I said in a number of other movements, and in the beehive movements, that was also used. And again, with a combination of some what I've sort of heard is quite raspy sounding brass notes or chords. The combination of that had a brilliant effect, I thought, together with the image of a beehive and the workings and movement of bees. Again, nothing to do with ghosts, and totally unrelated, but the same musical effect actually, but having the same power.
The last usage we won't talk about yet because it's in the last section.
And then there's the one which is in a later movement, which exactly. Yes.
Is there anything else to say about the Ophiuchus?
No, I think that covers quite well. Again, it's not maybe the longest one. Again, thinking only back to Virgo, already I think out of the 6 so far, Virgo is the one which just feels bigger somehow. It just feels
massive. It's a massive black hole.
Yes, yes.